Hi there, everybody. Okay, so I've tried a couple videos and I've tried to put them on YouTube, and obviously they haven't worked. So I'm going to try to do this again and see how this goes. I need my notes. Here, I made some notes. Bloop. Right here, and I'm going to try and make this super fast. So this was my idea, and it's a grandiose idea, and it might sound like an expensive idea, but I'm just going to throw it out there so that we can have the idea whether or not the budget is in there for the idea, but then it just gives us a place to go and just some ideas to have. So for the opener, maybe I should, let's see. I don't know how to describe this, I guess. I'm going to start like with the whole show. So my whole show idea is kind of a journey to the moon, and that the show starts on Earth. It starts in NASA. It starts with astronauts, and then it moves and it ends on the moon. And our crowning moment is when we plant the flag on the moon. And then in that middle tune, the middle part of our show is on that journey where we take off and we have a journey to the moon. So in the opener, the very beginning of it, I hear just a lot of like really busy work. And so to me, it sounds like that everybody has got like a job to do. And it's not, as far as like visual goes, guard and band included, that everybody is working. Everybody is going in different directions. Nobody is in the same place. Nobody's in the same section. So we kind of see that the color guard is all over. So I kind of picture like an open scatter drill. As soon as the music starts, we've got people going to the left, people going to the right. And the color guard would then, like, this is maybe where some of our props would come in, but I kind of picture them like holding out like blueprint plans, and that they're looking at like things to do and things to build. Now in my original plan, I thought that we could actually build a rocket. I'm not quite sure on the expense on that one at all, and I'm not saying that we even build like a full-on three-dimensional rocket, but I kind of thought like a two-dimensional rocket, like on wheels that can move, and it could come out in pieces. So I'll give you that idea, I guess, first. It would come out in pieces, and that kind of our crowning moment in that opener is when we pull out like the cockpit, a very recognizable sign that what we are building is actually a rocket. Our guard would be in like blue jumpsuits, so that's very recognizable with NASA, and so they would be in their blue jumpsuits and they'd be building, and the band is also going around obviously playing and building, and so just a lot of busy work. At that first big hit is when we bring out that cockpit and we have a moment around that cockpit, and then as I'm reading my notes, as the as that song comes to a close is when we bring out several different pieces of this rocket, and it hasn't been fully assembled yet. So we could do this in a couple of different ways, or we could also still give the idea that this is what we're doing. Anyway, the end. So then in the ballad, I had that our rocket's not pieced together, but we spend a good portion of the ballad piecing the rocket together, and then I like that first minute, and then I have at 56 seconds in is when our rocket would take off. You can still do this not so literally, and you can do it figuratively, but it would take off, and you can spend the rest of the time in the ballad going through the phases of the moon, and also going through like the points of space. We're here on Earth, it's sunny and bright, and we have a nice bright blue sky, and then as we get into space, it gets dark and we see stars, and that we're heading to the moon. And so as we head to the moon, like that moon flag that I showed, that would be a time that something like that would come in, where if you can't have a big huge prop, or you can't have backdrops, you can still convey your theme and your idea and your storyline in other ways. I don't feel personally that you have to have a lot of props and backdrops, and that's the only way to tell a story. Personally, if that's the only way that you can tell a story, then you need to figure out other ways to tell a story, okay? Because there's so many other ways in music to tell a story. So you can use it with a voiceover, you can use it like with some sound effects and those kinds of things, but I mean, it's music anyway, so it's up to really personal interpretation. So the ballad is our journey through the moon, and then closer is that our rocket is gaining on the moon, that we're getting close, and that we're getting very excited. Now our band has shifted, where they are those people like we see in the movies that we're waiting for the rocket to land or all those kinds of things. No, there's all those people in that room on their computers, and they're kind of like on that side of NASA, and they're watching our astronauts. So our guards are astronauts, and our band is NASA back down at like home base. And so they're also getting very excited about this landing of the moon, and a sound effect or a voiceover, just a couple lines in each song is not expensive at all, but you know, where you have a couple of those phrases, you know, that they're going to be landing and that they have safely made it to the ground. And then I had at a moment, let's see, at 1:47 in the closer, they would walk out. Choreography wise, they would do a really big, I would show it to you, but I'm out by myself, but they would do really big, like leap, kind of a jump, like this kind of big slow thing, so it kind of looks like that they are experiencing that gravity shift on the moon. And as each member, because if you only have 7 in the color guard, it's not like we're waiting for 20 girls to come out, but you have each member of the color guard that kind of has a time to come out as we're building up to this moment, and one girl stakes that flag, and we have a beautiful flag moment. In the closer, I see a lot of weapon happening, whether it's rifle or if you wanted to do air blade, but I see a lot. That's probably where your weapon is gonna make its like a big presence. I do see it happening in the opener as well, and as well as I don't see a piece of equipment even showing up until a minute in, until that first big hit. I see a lot of more like a dance kind of a feature. The guard is doing busy work through movement with the band, maybe interacting with the band, but it may be more interacting with props and stuff, and that we don't have that first big hit until maybe the cockpit comes out, but until that 59 seconds. I do have here in the opener at 1 minute and 15 seconds to use those musical hits as building and hammering. You don't have to have a physical prop there to build or hammer. You can do it all figuratively, I guess. So those are some of my things. I did see some front drops there on that color guard equipment closet sale that's on Facebook. So Mandy, if you're not on that, I would suggest getting on that. That's a really great resource. And also, if you want to go and turn around and sell something, it's a really great place, because you'd really be surprised who is looking for what, you know. And a lot of people do really unique shows, and that's a really great place to find some of those things where they have spent a lot of money to make their unique show happen, and then nobody else is going to do it, so they have to sell it for really cheap. So it's a really great resource if you want like a set of flags or practice flags or anything kind of unique. I like it for like certain kinds of uniforms and those kinds of things, and most of those they're coming from a school, they'll take a PO. I don't think that I really had anything else here. I mean, I wrote a lot of things down. Obviously, whatever you guys are gonna do is fine with me. I am just going to be the choreographer this time, and I'll throw my 2 cents worth in every once in a while. I will say about air blades that I suggest not buying them. I suggest borrowing them, just because most of the time you're not going to find a whole lot of time to use them. In the winter guard activity, they're not considered a piece of equipment, so they're only considered a prop. And in general, like, you're not going to spin them a whole lot. If you have spun them, I found that they are like incredibly tiring to spin, because they're slightly like an awkward size, and they're very large. So if you can, I would borrow or like rent them from somebody who has some. I did work with a guard up in Burley, Idaho, and I wrote a big long movement for them with their air blades. So I don't know if they're going to use it again, but I know somebody, and maybe you can borrow. Anyway, that's my suggestion, is to borrow those things. Rifles, of course, are always going to be acceptable. I would probably put rifle, well, I guess I wouldn't just do air blade. I think I would put a rifle in there, and to get those girls a little bit stronger on weapon, but that closer really calls for a rifle, so, or a weapon, I guess, of some sort. I don't really have anything else. I hope that's good. And I know that I kind of talk in circles. I go back and forth and that kind of thing, but I promise there's a method to the madness. So anyway, can't wait to meet you guys. Bye!